My wife, Diane, is a thin, blue-eyed, freckled, fair-skinned, natural blonde. She had cheated on me once before we were married when we were dating in college. I had forgiven her. Since the beginning of the year, I noticed some attitude changes that matched Diane's attitude while cheating in college. Then came a decrease in our intimacy. I started having serious concerns about the faithfulness of my wife. An easy first step would be to track her location. I turned on Find Your Phone app on my wife's phone. 2 days later, I was sitting in my office at work, and I noticed my wife's phone was at home. Being a real estate agent, she went many places, but not our house on a Wednesday afternoon. I told my boss I needed to take a long lunch and drove home. I drove up to our house and found only my wife's car in the driveway. Maybe she is just getting something from home, I thought. I walked into the house and knew she was unfaithful. I could hear voices from the upstairs bedroom. I walked to just outside the bedroom door and stuck my phone past the edge of the door, recording what was going on inside. I could see the video on my phone's screen as it captured the scene. In the room, my wife was with our neighbors John and Kevin. Both are married, with young kids. The bed was covered in a large rubber sheet. I had never seen the rubber sheet before. This was definitely planned. I never knew she had these preferences. I had tried being more assertive with her once, and she cut me off from intimacy for over a month, saying, "I'm not that kind of girl." I considered if the video I had was enough and decided it was. I quietly left the hallway. I went down to the kitchen, got myself a drink, and considered my new predicament. I now knew my wife was unfaithful. I no longer wanted my wife anymore. Saying out loud to nobody but myself, I need to make a plan. I need to teach her a lesson. Standing in the kitchen, pondering, I had a thought and told myself out loud, yeah, that's exactly what I am going to do. I went to the refrigerator and took out all but one bottle of wine and put them into the kitchen cabinet. I grabbed 2 of her sleeping tablets from her purse on the kitchen table, ground them up, and put them into the only bottle of wine I had left in the fridge. Back inside, I grabbed my laptop and sat at the dining room table. I paused to listen to what was happening upstairs. From the sounds, they were continuing their activities. I went online and took Diane off my medical, will, and life insurance. I split our finances. I downloaded some do-it-yourself divorce forms for my state and began filling them out. Sometime later, I heard the upstairs shower start. They were in there for over an hour. Our stairs end in front of our front door, which is directly across from our dining room. When all 3 came downstairs, I said, "You guys are so caught. I sent your video to your wives. Have fun with your divorces." They all froze in shock on the stair landing. John was the first to recover. He yelled, "What did you do?" John has 2 inches on me and 20 pounds, though mostly fat. "I ended your marriage just like you did mine." "I'm going to hurt you," he screamed. Before John could grow enough courage to act on his threat, I stood up and grabbed 2 carving knives I had hidden under a table napkin. I stepped forward to within a few feet of the trio with a knife in each hand. Staring only at John, I said, "You feel the same way, Kevin?" "No, man. I don't want any part of this." "Then leave. There's the door." I pointed at the door with the knife in my left hand, while staring only at John. Kevin bolted out the door. "There goes your backup, John. Now there is just you and me. I never liked you, John. I always knew you were a lying, backstabbing piece of trash. You never liked me because I know what you really are." John seething at me. "I'm going to take that knife away from you and hurt you." I stepped closer, pointing a knife at his face. "Go ahead, make your move. When you try to grab the knife in your face, I am going to sink the other 8-inch carving knife straight into your fat belly. Or maybe you're too slow, and I will bury this one in your left eye first." John stared at me with hatred in his eyes. "Come on, tough guy. I'm looking forward to feeling my knife sinking into you." I smiled menacingly at him. "Come on, big man. I can't wait to harm you. I so want to hurt you right now. I'll give you some incentive. I'm going to talk to your wife after this, since she has always liked me better than you. especially now that I know I have a much better personality to offer." I knew he was jealous of the friendly intimacy his wife and I shared, and the personality remark just felt good because it was true. John's face turned more red. "What's wrong, tough guy? You are always telling everyone how tough you are, how you would never back down from a fight. Well, here's your chance." I quickly moved forward, poking the knife towards his face. John flinched away. If he hadn't, he would be minus a left eye. John's look changed. After almost losing an eye, John realized I was very serious. I could tell because of the fear in his eyes and the moisture running down his legs. Staring at John as he finished embarrassing himself, I knew he would do nothing but talk. I said in a condescending voice, "John, you're making a mess on my floor. Get out of my house." "Forget you!" Logically, he screamed and ran out the door. Watching him run down the street, I said out loud to no one in particular, "Pity, I really hate John. I really wanted to watch him suffer on the floor." Diane looked pale and frightened. Closing the front door and turning to Diane, I cheerfully said, "Come on, dear. Let's have a chat. Be careful. Don't step in tough guy's mess." I sat back down in my chair at the dining room table and put the 2 knives back under the table napkin. I motioned to Diane to sit across from me, and she quickly scurried to the chair. Visibly shaking from what I had done to John, Diane said in a contrite voice, "I'm so sorry." While looking through the papers in front of me, I said in my normal voice, "Yes, you are. You are a very sorry excuse for a person." Before Diane could come up with another stupid excuse, I pushed some papers across the table so Diane could see them. "I have filled out these online divorce papers. This is a no-fault state, so we will split everything 50-50. I will give you the house and I will keep my 401k. I have already moved my half of the bank account and savings account into my own account. I paid off the balance of the credit cards and canceled them. I want you out of my life as fast I can, so I am being fair to make this divorce quick as possible, but there will be no alimony." Though still shaking, all contriteness disappeared. "No way, I know my rights. You make way more. I want alimony and the house." "Would you like to see the video that your parents, family, and friends will see? In fact, I think any future boyfriends you ever date may get a copy. So much for you marrying the future, rich bank account of your dreams." I showed her my phone screen, where I had paused the video showing her with the neighbors. "That's blackmail," she cried. "It's not my fault John's or Kevin's wives sent out the video I sent them. They must truly hate you for breaking up their families." I pointed at the papers in front of her and said, "Sign them. It's the best deal you're going to get, and the longer you take, the more likely the video goes public." She looked them over and signed where I had marked. "Good. I will file these today. I am moving out, so I will be in and out the next few days. I have already called into my work to take the rest of the week off. So, if you don't mind, please just leave me alone while I get out of here." "I'm not letting you take whatever you want. I'm watching you." "Fine. Your choice." With that, I got up and left the house to file the papers with the courthouse. When I got back to the house with a small rental van, Diane was sitting on the couch, with a glass of wine in her hand. She was dressed inappropriately. "I have my phone recording video, so you may want to change your clothes." She smiled at me and made a provocative gesture. "Don't you still love me?" I did not answer, even though I so wanted to. I wanted to make a smart remark about her appearance, but the silent treatment was really making her angry, so I stayed quiet. "You know you'll miss me?" I stared at her for a moment, looking like I smelled something nasty. Then, without a word, I walked up to our bedroom and started packing my clothes. She followed me in and laid on the bed. While I packed, she tried her excuses and to sweet-talk me for about 20 minutes. She began trying to flirt and said, "I miss you. Come back to me." After I failed to respond to anything she said or even look directly at her, she slid off the bed when my back was to her and began pressing against my back. Come on, baby, I'll treat you better. She reached around and tried to embrace me, but found me completely unresponsive. My anger and disgust was thankfully overriding any other feelings. She finally realized I wasn't going to talk and her behavior was not affecting me. She let go and walked to the bedroom door. She stopped at the door and yelled at me, "Maybe if you were better as a husband, I wouldn't have to be with other men." I didn't pause packing or even glance at her. In all the years we had been together, I had always responded to her advances. Not being able to get a response from me verbally or emotionally really angered her. Diane stormed off downstairs, yelling at me as she went. "If you had been a better husband, I wouldn't have strayed. If you paid more attention to me, we wouldn't be having this problem." Her last rant, she yelled from the bottom of the stairs, "You're never going to reconcile with me until you apologize for treating me so badly." I thought to myself, wow, what a train wreck. As I loaded some of my stuff into the moving van, she sat on the couch in her robe, drinking wine and watching TV. She pretended not to notice me. About an hour later, as I was carrying a box past the living room, I saw Diane was asleep. I walked into the kitchen and examined the bottle of wine. It was almost empty. I walked over to Diane and gave her a nudge. She was asleep. I yelled her name in her ear. No response. Feeling pleased with myself, I smiled and said out loud, "I love it when a plan comes together." I slid her wedding ring off her finger and put it in my pocket. I set her phone to airplane mode and put it into a kitchen drawer. I closed all the blinds in the house. I covered the inside of the front door, which had glass in it, with a black blanket I had purchased when I was out earlier. I covered the windows and the garage doors as well. I also disconnected the front doorbell. I spent the rest of the evening boxing up everything I wanted from the house, including her expensive jewelry and her precious kitchen utensils and appliances. I did these first, in case things did not go as planned. Her sleeping pills last 8 hours for her, and she is always groggy for an hour afterwards. While she is under the effects of the sleeping pills, my wife is literally impossible to wake up. So, I crushed another of her sleeping pills and sprinkled the powder into her open mouth. I then poured a little wine in. She coughed a little but swallowed it. I repeated the process every 6 hours. At 8 a.m., I woke up and made myself some breakfast. I then went outside and rearranged the backyard. I used a padlock to lock the side gate. I gave Diane another sleeping pill and carried her outside and set her on the lawn chair. I had tied some rope between our trees and hung some large beach towels on them. Not that it was likely, but just in case the neighbors were to look, it would look like we were drying towels near our pool. In reality, it was so the neighbors could not see my unconscious wife tanning by the pool. I continued packing the van throughout the day, putting stuff into a storage unit and personal items in my extended stay motel room. Every 6 hours, I gave Diane another sleeping tablet. About every hour, I also adjusted her chair, so she was not in the shade from the hanging towels and to make sure she was pointed towards the sun. We didn't want an uneven tan. Around noon, someone began beating on our front door. I peeked out from our front window. It was Kevin's and John's wife. I heard them yelling, "Come on out here, you homewrecker! I'm gonna hurt you! You can't hide forever, you terrible person!" I had rented the small moving van so it would fit in the garage. I saw them try to go in through the side fence. Luckily, they did not climb over the gate. The black blanket gave the impression that the house and garage were completely dark. Since the house seemed deserted, they both left after about 5 minutes. By the end of the day, Diane was red as a lobster. After sunset, I brought Diane into the house and put her on the couch. I turned on the ceiling fan to keep her cool. I set my alarm again to wake me every 6 hours so I could keep her unconscious. Friday morning at 9 a.m., I carried Diane back out to her lawn chair. Surprisingly, around 1 p.m., the pain from the sun actually woke Diane up. I watched her stagger in through the back door. "Diane, what happened to you? You are so sunburned. Here, lay on the couch and drink this water." I laid her down on the couch and gave her some water I had ready. The water had a sleeping pill in it. After she fell back asleep, I carried her back out to her lawn chair. I then went back into the house and emptied 2 bottles of wine and thoroughly washed out the laced bottle of wine and the water glass she drank from. After sunset, I carried Diane back into the house and put her on the couch. I could feel the heat coming off her body. She was already starting to blister from the sun. It had been 2 clear, beautiful, hot, sunny days. I let the sedative wear off. I removed all the blanket coverings, opened all the blinds in the house, removed the padlock from the side gate, and I removed the rope and towels from the backyard. At 8 p.m., I poked Diane in her sunburned belly. She didn't wake up. I tried again an hour later. Diane woke up screaming, "Don't touch me!" "Diane, I need to take you to the hospital. You fell asleep in the sun and got badly sunburned." "Where am I? I hurt!" Diane was very groggy. "My God, Diane, I have to get you to the hospital. You look horrible. Your face is all swollen." Diane gingerly put on her robe, and I drove her to the hospital. I had to carry her to the car. The bottom of her feet were too sunburned for her to walk. After admitting her to the hospital emergency, the doctor came out and asked me some questions. "How many hours was she in the sun?" "I don't know. I recently moved out. Luckily, I had to go back home to get some items when I found her on the couch. I think she got drunk and fell asleep in the sun all day." "Do you think she will be all right?" "Yes, but we won't know the full extent of the damage until we can get the swelling down." "How bad is it?" I asked. "She has second-degree burns over the entire front of her body. She may even have some third-degree burns on some parts. She has sun poisoning, so we are hydrating her to get the fever and swelling down. I will update you when I know more." After the doctor left, I peeked in on Diane. They had burn gauze over the front of her entire body. There was a gauze pad over her lower body. I had made sure her legs were spread and always pointed at the sun. A pretty nurse came up and asked me some questions. "Are you the husband?" "Ex-husband," I replied. "Well, can you provide her insurance information?" "Nope, I dropped her from my insurance. I don't think she has any other. You will need to ask her when she wakes up." I abruptly turned on her and left the hospital. The next day, 2 police officers showed up at our house while I was packing. One officer asked questions, while the other officer looked around our downstairs and backyard. He spent most of his time looking in the kitchen and laundry room. "Can we ask you some questions about your wife's sunburn, which put her in the hospital?" "You mean my soon-to-be ex-wife, Diane?" "We're divorcing." "I see. Can you tell me when you last saw your wife not sunburned?" "That would be Thursday. I came by a few times to get my stuff. She was sitting on the couch." "Could you tell if she had been tanning on Thursday?" "Yes. She had a nice red tint all over her body," I replied. "What time was that?" "Around 8 p.m. "How were you able to determine the extent of her tan?" "She was undressed. I caught her on Wednesday being unfaithful with my 2 neighbors, and she was trying to persuade me not to divorce her," I replied. "I see. When did you next see her?" "I saw her Friday morning when I came by to get some of my stuff." "Was she tanning then?" "Yes. She came inside when she saw me inside the house. She was undressed, drunk, and feeling sorry for herself. She again tried to persuade me and got mad when I declined. I got my stuff and left. She was back out laying in the sun when I was leaving. She had a bottle of wine with her." "Does your wife normally drink much?" "She usually drinks a couple glasses of wine while she lays out in the sun. When I found her Friday night, there were 3 empty bottles on the counter. She normally doesn't go through 3 bottles unless she is sunbathing with her friends. But she does drink more when she is depressed. And she was definitely depressed knowing I won't stay married to someone unfaithful." "Can you give us the names of the friends she normally sunbathes with?" "I can give you the names of her 2 best friends she tans with. But unfortunately, they hate her now," I replied. "Why is that?" "Those 2 guys I told you I caught her being unfaithful with. Those were their husbands." "I see. Your wife claims you drugged her and left her in the sun. She blames me for being an idiot? I always told her to not drink when she took those stupid sleeping pills. So your wife takes sleeping pills? Yes. She has a prescription from her doctor. She takes them like candy when she wants to sleep, is depressed or in pain. Honestly, she likes to take them and drink. They make her higher than a kite. I see. Well, thank you for talking with us. As they were turning, I gave them my best puzzled expression. I thought it was a nice touch, and I was honestly curious what they were thinking. Honesty is always the best policy with the police. As soon as the police left, I traded my small moving van for a large moving van. I needed the room for furniture and large garage items. Monday, I put the house up for sale, anticipating I would need the leverage soon. 2 days later, Diane called, "Honey, can you bring me some clothes?" "Nope, not going to happen. Why don't you ask John or Kevin to run your errands for you?" "Honey, I need your help. Can't you forgive me a little bit?" "You already got your little bit of help from me. I had to carry your sorry self to the car and drive you to the hospital. Don't call me ever again." And I hung up. By the time Diane got out of the hospital, I had taken everything from the house, except her oldest clothing, makeup, our bed, and the rubber sheet. I had found the rubber sheet hidden in the bottom of the laundry basket in a large zip-locked plastic bag. I left no sheets, blankets, or pillows on the bed, just the rubber sheet. The same rubber sheet she had not had a chance to clean. I'm sure the room was rather fragrant by time she got home, especially since I turned off the central air in the house before I left. Nice and toasty for my sunburned wife's return. I stored what I wanted in a rental storage unit. Anything I didn't want, or Diane would want in the divorce, I sold in a resale shop or threw away. I burned the entire wedding album, deleted all the digital copies, and burned her wedding dress. We both hired lawyers, and I communicated exclusively through them. Diane sent me hundreds of texts and emails, mostly apologies, but quite a few threats, especially when she came home from the hospital and found I had cleaned out the place. Diane tried to fight the divorce papers she had signed. She needed money. She became a vampire, having to avoid the sun at all costs. Just the heat of the sun on her clothing caused her pain. Of course, she had to quit her job as a real estate agent. Who wants to be shown a house by a blistering person who has to avoid the sun? She claimed she had signed the divorce papers under duress, and I had stolen everything from the house. She also wanted alimony. Luckily, the house sold before we were divorced. When I threatened to hold up the sale of the house and not sign over the proceeds to her, she agreed to no longer contest the divorce. I knew she was desperate for money. A month after the divorce, after dark, there was pounding on my apartment door. Looking through the eye hole in the door, I saw it was my ex-wife. I had not spoken to her since I dropped her off at the hospital. She looked like she had been drinking. I knew this day would come. I opened the door, and she pushed her way into the apartment. "What do you want, Diane?" "I want a drink." "There is a bottle of wine in the fridge." She opened the refrigerator door, grabbed the open bottle of wine, and took a large swallow from it. She then grabbed a glass and filled it up, emptying the wine bottle. With her full glass of wine in hand, Diane sat down on my couch. With my most sarcastic tone, I said, "Why don't you make yourself at home?" "I will," Diane replied, just as sarcastically. She took off her light jacket and sat back down on my couch. She was wearing a tiny crop top that was basically a bikini. She had a cocky, entitled, arrogant look on her face that I had seen too many times. I sat down across from her. I looked at her with a hard look. She had many more wrinkles and dark moles on her face. Her skin had peeled heavily and was very uneven with white, red, and gray patches. She had no makeup on, so I guess her doctors must have told her that makeup could lead to infection. The biggest change was her nose. Now, her nose was noticeably bigger. Instead of a cute little nose, she had a bumpy, scarred mess. She also should have left the jacket on. Her body had more dark moles than her face, and the skin looked much worse. Diane had always taken great pride in her looks, and always dressed in cute clothing to get men's attention, and her way with me. I knew Diane would be self-conscious about her looks. I guess part of the reason for this visit was an attempt to boost her self-esteem by getting some of that old tried-and-true adoration from me. I made no effort to hide my lack of interest for how she looked now. Diane visibly wilted under my gaze, and her cockiness evaporated. What did she expect? She is a narcissist who was used to getting whatever she wanted from men, with a cute smile and a shake of her body. The sunburn had aged her 25 years. Instead of 25 years of slowly losing attention from men, she had become invisible to men overnight, especially me. "What do you want, Diane?" With a warm smile, "I want you to give me another chance. Love is trust. I don't trust you. Instead of improving our relationship, you selfishly hid the exciting side of yourself from me and gave that part of you to others. No matter your reasons or what you say now, your actions say I was not worth the effort. It didn't take anything away from our relationship. I was still the same housewife I always was. You should have used that energy to add life to our relationship, not poison it." I knew Diane well enough to know she had come prepared with a well-rehearsed script. By the surprised look on her face, I had just derailed her opening dialogue. "What do you really want, Diane?" Her smile disappeared. "I want you to pay for my medical bills. You shouldn't have taken me off of your health care. We weren't officially divorced yet." Actually, that is how it is supposed to work in a divorce. We separate our finances and we no longer cohabitate. That is how it is done. Looking at me from under her new droopy eyelids. "You did this to me. You owe me. I'll go to the police if you don't help me." "Well, that won't work. The police came by months ago and questioned me. Since nothing has happened since then, or during our divorce hearing, no one believes your crazy story." "I know you did this to me." "What? Let you lay out in the sun, getting drunk and falling asleep? I didn't know there was a law against that." "How could you?" "You love me." "Wrong. Loved you." Past tense. We sat in silence for a few moments, and she said in her most pitiful voice, "I need your help. I have a mountain of medical bills, I am out of money, and I need more skin treatment. Maybe even skin grafts to fix certain things." Looking at me with very sad eyes. "I still love you. I know you loved me. We could still love each other." I think the sunburn had screwed up her tear ducts. I could tell she was trying to cry for sympathy. "Why don't you ask Kevin or John for help? They got to be close to you too." Looking at me with a weird, guilty, angry, sorry look. "They are both divorced, broke, and want nothing to do with me." A few weeks after our split, John came over to my hotel room and wanted to spend time with me. I think he thought he could get his manhood back. He couldn't. I could see in his eyes that I reminded him of the moment he embarrassed himself in fear of you. He stormed out of my apartment calling me a dried-up old mess. He never liked you, and it was eating him up that he backed down to you so spectacularly. What's worse, his wife had seen the video you sent and was waiting at home for him. She saw John had humiliated himself and knew you had caused it. She even took pictures. I had been seeing John's wife numerous times since that day. She asked me why John had embarrassed himself, and I told her. Afterwards, she always brought my name up when she spoke to John. With her permission, I sent John a picture every week. Nothing anyone could tell was her and I, but enough so John could tell. We stopped seeing each other a few weeks ago, but I had lots of pictures. I didn't try so hard with Kevin. There wasn't anything left to destroy after he lost his family. In so many words, Diane had admitted during some of her guilty, drunk texts that John had chased her. But she had seduced Kevin. Diane wanted to be with both men and thought Kevin was cute, and he was young. At one of John's barbecues, I had seen how excited Kevin had been when Diane responded to his innocent flirting. After the first time they spent time together, Kevin wanted to break it off, saying it was a mistake. But John and Diane pressured Kevin to continue, with photos John had secretly taken. Kevin learned the hard way how vulnerable, unfaithful people are. You really did scare John badly? Diane looked at me with excitement in her shining eyes. She was recalling the excitement of the moment. It exhilarated her. Her eyes told me she was hoping that it had been an effort by me to win her back. I stared at her with a dead expression until that hope left her eyes. As for Kevin, his wife refers to him with terrible names to everyone, even their kids. She's never going to let Kevin or anyone else ever forget. She sent your video to everyone he knows, including his family and mine. I found Kevin at the grocery store to see if we could get together. He started crying and fell to the floor bawling. I left when the cops showed up. He's more broken than John is. I could see the haunted look in her eyes as she recalled the way Kevin and John had looked at her and what she had done to destroy their marriages. Diane took a big swig of wine from her glass, trying to ease the pain. Why don't you offer them the same things as before? That worked before. I can't be intimate anymore. Why not? Catch an illness. No, the sunburn. Ouch, sensitive areas hurt that bad? You have no idea. My sensitive areas are horribly painful. I have to constantly put gauze pads over parts of my body. Even a breeze across them is painful. From what I saw, you like that kind of thing. But I don't think those areas are what John and Kevin are really interested in. Her tears started flowing. Diane burst out sobbing and half yelled, "The sunburn damaged me permanently." "What?" I asked. Through her sobbing, she said, "My sensitive areas were sunburned just as bad as the rest of me. After the skin peeled off, I lost all feeling in those areas. The doctors said the feeling may come back, but I can't feel anything anymore. I can't enjoy intimacy anymore." Diane sobbed harder into her hands. I let her cry for a few minutes. I could tell she was hoping my heart would break, and I would take her in my arms. Instead, I picked up her glass of wine and handed it to her. She drank a couple of big gulps, sniffled, and gave me a small smile. Unbelievable. She thought she could just win me back with a few tears, a provocative outfit, and a smile. After she tore my heart out and treated me like garbage, she still expected me to be there for her, to provide her financial and emotional support. I smiled to myself. I had completely upended her easy life. Now to crush all remaining hope and get her completely out of my life. When Diane saw my slight smile, she stopped crying and gave me her warmest smile. I went to her, stood her up by lightly pulling on her arm, and guided her to the front door. At the open door, she turned and pressed her body against mine. She looked lovingly up into my eyes and asked, "Don't you still love me?" Looking deeply into her eyes, I slowly shut the door and said, "Why?" "Everything about you that I loved is gone." Standing defeated on my doorstep, I slowly closed the door in her face. And so, we've reached the end of today's story. Was it what you expected, or did it take a twist you didn't see coming? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Share them in the comments below, and let's get a conversation going. If this story kept you hooked, make sure to hit that like button. And if you're new here or just haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to join our community. I bring you fresh, captivating stories every day, so click that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.